Star Destroyers are well known for their substantial inefficiencies and design flaws, and the Imperial 2, for example, had a reputation as a symbol of fear and power rather than a truly practical warship. However, not all Star Destroyers are as poorly designed as the Imperial line, and in fact, some ships repudiate this association wholly. One craft, however, stands out from amongst its peers. Let us open to page 119 of the Saga edition of the Starships of the Galaxy Guide. A Nebula class can take on anything short of a Super Star Destroyer, and is designed to act as a respectable threat even to those adversaries. Coupled with the support ships that almost always accompany it, and the ship's own complement of craft, a Nebula can face down any threat short of a massed armada. The mere presence of a Nebula-class Star Destroyer can turn the tide of battle. You might be thinking, what is the Nebula Star Destroyer and how large is this thing? 5 kilometers? 10? Maybe 15? No, not even close. At just 1,000 meters long, the Nebula Star Destroyer is perhaps Star Wars' best representation of efficiency. But before we take a deep dive and look at hardware and specifications, let's go over a brief history of the Nebula. After the Battle of Endor, the New Republic was tasked with updating its ragtag fleet to one fitting of a full-fledged galactic government power. The initial phase of modernization birthed the Defender program, which saw the introduction of the excellent MC-90 Starcruiser, the first purpose-built Mon Calamari warship, as well as several other powerful capital ships. However, before the mightiest design ships would see production, the New Republic would be forced into serious conflict by both Thrawn and the reborn Palpatine's Dark Empire, halting any new ship design and production. Even after these conflicts, however, the constant brush fires faced by the New Republic meant that the second line of new warships, dubbed the New Class program, would not enter service until 15 ABY. The New Class program continued the Rebel Alliance and Mon Cal traditions of strong, self-sufficient warships with a heavy emphasis on starfighter superiority. The mightiest of the New Class ships was the Nebula Star Destroyer, sometimes known as the Defender. In 16 ABY, the New Republic commissioned the 5th Fleet, made up entirely of New Class ships. This battle group broke the Yvathan Duskon League and their powerful navy, and showed the potential for the warships moving forward. The Nebula continued to see action throughout the Yuuzhan Vong War and beyond. Unfortunately, despite its relatively low cost and very reasonable price point of 160 million credits, production of the Nebula Star Destroyer was minimal, and it's very likely that less than 20 of these ships ever saw action. In my opinion, along with the subsequent larger Star Defender class of ships, the Nebula was one of the best vessels for countering the Yuuzhan Vong, and the New Republic could have responded more effectively to the invasion had they prioritized their production. Why do I think this ship would have been so good though? Well, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Instead of opting for hundreds of turbolaser batteries, the Nebula instead uses a few extremely proficient and powerful weapons, which also manage to cover all space around the vessel in even firing arcs, including the rear, which is exceptionally rare for a Star Destroyer. In total, even with only 80 combined heavy and ordinary turbolasers, the Nebula is able to match an Imperial Star Destroyer in a straight-up turbolaser exchange. What's more, this firepower can be projected in any direction, as much like the classic Mon Cal designs, the weapons are spread evenly towards the front and the back of the ship, as well as to the port and starboard. That means that the Nebula can bring a lot of firepower to bear on several enemies at once, or it can hit ships in strange positions, which works well with the Nebula's exceptional speed and somewhat unique lateral thrusters, which allows it to very easily move around the battlefield, outflanking and outmaneuvering larger capital ships. That being said, one thing I do need to point out is that unlike its sister ship, the Endurance Fleet Carrier, the Nebula does not possess dedicated anti-fighter weapons, relying on New Class escort ships and its onboard starfighters to provide protection. Despite the fact that the Nebula would probably never be without an escort, I still classify this as perhaps the only real issue with the ship. Arguably the most notable aspect of the Nebula's design is its incredible durability. Its shield was perhaps the most powerful in existence for any ship of its size during its lifetime, and it had an incredibly sturdy hull. The Nebula also minimizes exposed weak points, removing bridge towers and external sensor and shield equipment. The survivability is further increased by its smaller size and, as I've mentioned, exceptional speed and agility. As with most New Republic ships, the starfighters carried aboard the Nebula should also be included among its greatest assets. Despite being only a kilometer long, the Nebula is able to take with it 60 plus combat starfighters, the same as an Imperial Star Destroyer. However, New Republic starfighters are of phenomenal quality, especially when compared with TIE fighters. The K-Wing or B-Wing serves as a versatile and powerful heavy bomber, and from E-Wings to J3 X-Wings, the New Republic has endless possibilities for space superiority fighters. It's clear that the ship is incredibly flexible, and especially with the support fleet, is capable of responding to nearly any situation. Further enabling this is a very fast Class 1 hyperdrive. A hyperdrive of this speed is rare for a capital ship. As a comparison, Class 2 hyperdrives, which are only half as fast, were standard installs on ISD-2s. All in all, perhaps with the exception of no point defense cannons, I really think the Nebula is the perfect ship. It's super adaptable and mobile, it has unprecedented survivability for a ship of its size, it can match an ISD in turbolaser firepower, plus carries basically another fleet's worth of firepower in starfighters alone. Interestingly, its sister ship, the Endurance Fleet Carrier, basically trades most of the capital ship weapons for more fighter space and dedicated point defense cannons. Obviously, the two ships work extremely well together. Given that the Nebula is only about 15% more expensive than an ISD-2, but much more effective, it's a wonder why the New Republic didn't rush as many of these ships into production as possible. Anyway, the Nebula is, in my opinion, the greatest Star Destroyer of all time. Now, there are a few other obvious choices. The Pelion and Imperius line from the Legacy era seem to have similar desires for effectiveness and efficiency, but I think pound for pound, and certainly dollar for dollar, the Nebula is more versatile and ultimately effective. The same can be said of the much larger Resurgent, which would certainly win in a head-to-head fight, but is undoubtedly much more expensive and still maintains some of the classic Imperial design issues. Remember, best designed and most powerful are far different things. That, however, is just my opinion. What Star Destroyer do you think is the best designed in Star Wars Legends or canon? Make sure to let me know down in the comments section. Also, just a reminder guys, the new Thrawn Alliance's canon book comes out tomorrow. I'm really excited for it because the first one was great, and if you guys want to get into new canon material, it's a great place to start. Star Wars Explained has done a breakdown on everything up to this point, you guys should check that out. But if you want to support this channel, I recommend that you go to audibletrial.com/EckhartsLadder, get a free month of Audible, and check out the audiobook. They're always fully voiced with great music and sound effects. Unfortunately, despite some correspondence and a bunch of emails, Del Rey decided not to send me a review copy of the book, so I'm not sure whether I'll have time to do a full review or just some lore videos and some battle breakdowns. I don't even know what's in the book yet. I'm really disappointed, and it's going to be hard to kind of mix reading the book and really going deep into it with my normal production of videos. So let me know what you'd like to see from the channel in regards to Thrawn Alliances. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, may the Force be with you.